Hi, everyone. Welcome to our information session on the PBS Media Literacy Cohort. Um, I'm just getting started right now. I'm sure more people are going to join us pretty soon, and I know a lot of people watch the recording afterwards. So whether you're watching this live or the recording, I'll be available for questions. I'm just going to do a quick overview of what this media literacy cohort is, what it includes, and basically what it entails and what you have to do to apply. So first of all, I'm Nick. I'm an education engagement specialist at PBS Wisconsin. So I work in the education department, and my job is to do professional development for educators surrounding media literacy and youth media. If you aren't familiar with PBS Wisconsin, which I'm sure many of you are, but if you aren't, we're the PBS affiliate in Wisconsin. So we cover the entire state of Wisconsin. We're a TV station. We air all the great PBS programs as well as locally made content. But in our education department specifically, we make media for K-12 classrooms. So that includes series like Wisconsin Biographies. We have Resound, which is focused on music. We have a new series called The Look Back, which is focused on Wisconsin history, where each episode focuses on a different artifact. That's what you see up the top, Classroom Media. It's all free and available for anyone to use. And then we also do professional development, which is what I do and is what our media literacy cohort is. So what we're going to talk about today, this shouldn't take too long, half an hour at the most. I'll keep it quick and to the point, and I'll be available to answer questions either right now or through email. I'll give my contact information at the end. I'll talk a little bit about media literacy, why it's important, and really what it is. And then I'll talk about the cohort itself. And then I'll talk about the certification program. So what is media literacy? Chances are, if you're here, you have some idea of what media literacy is. It is kind of a broad term, and different people interpret it in different ways. This is the definition from the National Association for Media Literacy Education, or namely, which is a really great organization advocating for media literacy education across the country. And they define it as the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, create, and act using all forms of communication. So a very broad definition here. I think it'll become more clear as I go into more detail about what our cohort entails. So that'll give you an idea of how we interpret media literacy and how we've kind of selected what to focus on in our limited time together in a cohort. But I do like this definition because you're analyzing information, you're evaluating it, no matter the medium. So oftentimes we talk about it through the digital world, but it is regardless of medium, all forms of communication. But it also includes the word create. And a big part of what we do is media creation, and media creation with students, and training educators to make media with their students. So that's a big part of our cohort. So if you're interested in making media as well as analyzing and interpreting media, that you'll be interested in our cohort. And why learn about media literacy? I don't know. I'm probably preaching to the choir here when I talk about this, so I'm not going to belabor the point. These are lifelong skills, really. These are thinking critically. You talk about critical thinking. This is it. This is real world critical thinking. Thinking critically about everything you see and you hear and you read. Um, Identifying reliable sources, of course, is a big part of media literacy, recognizing bias, and of course, misinformation. When people talk to me about media literacy, identifying misinformation is probably the number one thing that people bring up. And in fact, some people think about that as being synonymous with media literacy. We take a broader definition of it, but we call it fact checking, is one specific way of doing that. That's a big part of our program, and it is something we focus on, but it's not exclusively what we focus on. Students become media creators. So there's no better way to learn how to analyze media than to make media yourself. And there are accessible ways of doing that, no matter what grade level you're working with, no matter what technology you have access to, or your comfort level with using technology. We do our best to make it easy and accessible for everyone. Um, All right, let's dive into our cohort and what this includes. So if you're interested in media literacy and you want to spend some more time learning about it and working together as part of a group of educators from around the state, along with me and some guest speakers, media literacy experts, you can join our cohort. Uh, so what you'll be doing um, in our meetings, which take place, most of them are virtual, but we also do an in-person workshop as well, which I'll talk about in a minute. You collaborate and brainstorm with peers. What's the best way to implement media literacy in your specific situation? Whether that's your content area, your grade band, are you a classroom teacher, library media specialist, what type of school? We really have a wide variety of people who join us for this program. We bring in guest speakers, which vary year to year, so I don't want to, commit to any one or other, but in the past, we've had professional graphic designers come in and talk about principles of graphic design and how the decisions made by creators affect the message they're sending. What does the color palette tell us about the mood they're setting here? We've had educators who do video editing, and we've done video editing workshops. Um, we've had educators who are implementing media analysis, digital citizenship, a variety of things. Um, and another thing you could do is celebrate together. If you implement something, you can talk through challenges, and it's great to have people to help you come up with solutions, but you can also celebrate things together. Whether that's you implemented a great lesson or a student really got something, whatever it is, we celebrate it. So a little bit about our workshops. Um, and I try to call them workshops and not meetings, because meetings sounds really boring if you do a lot of Zoom meetings. And they're not just presentations either. They really are collaborative of people working together. There's usually a presentation from someone, maybe it's me or a guest speaker of talking about some aspect of media literacy, and then we discuss it and kind of brainstorm together. It's one semester. So it's the fall semester. So it'll be coming up this fall of 2024, starting in September. We have 5 total meetings, and those meetings are spread out. I'll show the full schedule in a minute, but basically we start at the end of September. We do one meeting a month through December, and then uh, we're done with that portion, but we do ask everybody to come back for one more meeting at the end of the school year. So we all come back in May, maybe early June. We'll see when people are available. And we talk about how it's been going since we last saw each other in December. We talk about how we've implemented things, what has gone right, what has gone wrong, and just sort of recap together. It includes one in-person workshop. So that's our very first meeting at the end of September. That's a really fun day. So that's our media production workshop, which takes place at the PBS studio in Madison. Um, and it's just a fun time. Let me talk a little bit more about that. So this in-person workshop. So these are some pictures from previous years. Um, you can see we're all gathered here at the TV studio. So if you ever watch PBS Wisconsin, if you squint and look in the background, you can see where they film Here and Now, our weekly news program. Or if you watch anything else made by PBS Wisconsin, you've probably seen this studio before. Um, so that's where we kind of set up for the day. It's a full day. It's on a Saturday. We talk through principles of media production. We practice a little bit with our own devices, so we're not talking about those professional cameras that you might see in the picture. Uh, People are bringing their phones, their tablets, their Chromebooks, and we're using what you have. Whatever equipment you have, we find a way to make some media with it, with a bigger focus on video, a little bit about audio, but we are receptive to people's requests. If there's anything in particular they want to learn. Um, So that's on September 28th this coming year. We have the dates and times set for our meetings. So just to be upfront, if you can't make it to our meetings, then maybe consider waiting a year to apply. If you miss one or two, that's okay. But really try to, look at your calendar. If you decide to apply for the cohort, get September 28th on your calendar. That's the day we're doing it. That's the day that worked out the best. It's not right at the very beginning of the school year, but it's early enough. It's a day that probably won't be too busy on campus. I will not do this workshop on a day when there's a Badger football game on campus. Trust me, traffic is bad enough on a regular day. Um, and roughly it's 9 to 3, give or take. Um, and it's really hands-on. So these are actual pictures. You can see some producers on the right who are talking about their work and their jobs. And then on the left, you can see some of our educators from our previous cohort who are practicing their video production, just using the phone that they had in their pocket. Okay, so this is the full schedule. So this is what we're looking at for the fall, and then that May meeting. So September 28th, that's our workshop all day in Madison. That serves as our kickoff meeting, get to know each other, talk about media literacy, and then talk about media creation, and then dive into some specific video production skills. And then October 8th, that's when we start talking about planning and assessing media projects. So that's where we take what we learned at the workshop and we come up with a plan to implement that in the classroom in specific ways. Whatever the project you want to do, you figure out your timeline, your schedule, what do you need, you know, in detail to implement this in your classroom with your students. And then we talk a little bit about assessing, what do rubrics look like for media projects and how is that different from another project. Something that we really do highlight is finding projects or lessons or units that you're already doing that can be converted into media projects. This shouldn't be something that is just done on top of everything else. On top of everything else you have to do, this is something where you can take something you're already doing and convert it into media projects. So that's one of the activities we do is we find a way to do that and really just, make it easy for you. And then November 12th, we start talking about analyzing media. And that's where we talk about those things that I mentioned earlier with graphic design of, what's the font choice in this piece of media? What music did they choose? And what does that tell you about the message they're sending? So we go from making media to analyzing media. And then in December, we're evaluating information. So that's where we get into misinformation, reliable sources, bias, all of those things that people think of when they hear media literacy. And then in May, I don't have a date in May. We'll decide that as a group. We'll find a date at the end of the school year to come back and talk about the school year and how it went and how we implemented things. And the virtual meetings take place at 4 o'clock, 4 to 5:30 on those dates. So this is where I want to be really clear about the differences between these two things. So we have the PBS Wisconsin cohort, and then we have the PBS KQED certification. And those are two separate things, but they are closely related. So PBS nationally and KQED, which is a PBS station in California, they worked together to create a media literacy certification program. So that is where you complete 8 micro-credentials online at your own pace, creating lessons and submitting them, getting feedback. It's a pretty rigorous certification program. It doesn't require any Zoom meetings. It's completely on your own. But what we did is we created a cohort of Wisconsin educators who use the certification as kind of the backbone for our own cohort. So as we go through the cohort, you'll be looking at these micro-credentials and you'll be looking at the certification. And if you choose to go and submit everything for the certification, the cohort will really set you up well. And I've been closely involved in this, so I'm here to help you if you want that certification. It's not a requirement to join our cohort. You can join our cohort, join the meetings, implement what you learned, without getting the certification if you don't want to go through those extra steps. And as part of the cohort, I'll always keep you up to date on what those extra steps are if you do want to get that certification. And again, the certification is also free. Everything I'm talking about is free. There's no charge for any of this. So these are the 8 micro-credentials. You'll see that in our cohort meetings, we don't address every single one, but we do touch on most of them. So they have creating a code of conduct, evaluating online information. That's our December meeting. Evaluating online tools for classroom use. That one is about kind of data privacy, terms of service, those sorts of things. Critically analyzing media. That's one of our meetings as well. And then the whole bottom row is all about making media. So we do touch on making media quite a bit. They break it up into 4 distinct ones where it's the educator making images and graphics. That's on the bottom left. And then next to that one is making media for classroom use, audio and video. That's where the educator makes video or audio. And then implementing media projects. So that's where the students start to make media, not just the educator. And then assessing student media. So we talk about that as well. So if you do choose to go on to submit all your materials and get this certification, there are some benefits. You get recognized by some very trusted organizations called PBS and KQED. You get an email notification to your school. You get a certificate, a badge, some of those digital things just to show people how great you are at media literacy. And other opportunities to work with PBS Wisconsin. Well, you can do that without the certification. If you join the cohort, you can do that. We're always looking for former cohort members to join me at conferences, to join future cohorts as guest speakers. I'm always asking people to do stuff with me. So if you do the cohort, there's a good chance we'll ask you to do something. So yeah, to submit the certification, again, this list right here isn't required for the cohort, but if you want to go on to do the certification, you have to submit your learning as an educator, what you learned. You have to submit your lesson plan. You have to submit evidence of student work, which can be an assignment they finished or something they did or their own reflection. And then your own reflection where you just kind of write a paragraph or 2 about what you learned and what you would do different next time. So here I can show some examples of some of our previous cohort members. We have a portion of our website that I'm just making sure the screen sharing is working as I switch to my web browser. So I think it is working. So you can see our website, pbswisconsineducation.org/media literacy. On our implement tab, we feature former educators who were former cohort members who have gone on to implement media literacy. So here you can see Kevin implemented media projects in upper grades. You can click on his lesson that he was nice enough to share with us, where he had high school students make videos. He was teaching sports psychology, which might not be the first class you think of when you hear media literacy, but he had them make videos about what it's like to be a student athlete. And he was working in a brand new school, and they were very happy that he had the students make videos to help kind of support this, school pride for this brand new school. And you can see his full lesson plan here. And then we have another one here, Ethan. He had his students make videos related to poetry. He's an English teacher doing a poetry unit. So the students read poems and used WeVideo to kind of add some images to match the mood and tone of the poem. And then here we have Debbie and Aaron teaching elementary school. A lot of people choose to apply to the cohort in groups or pairs. So a lot of times you'll have a classroom teacher and a school librarian, which is what these two are, kind of working together to implement some of these things. And we find that people who join as a group really, do well in the cohort if they can, work with the same group of students. And they created a code of conduct for their students. And here we have Jacqueline, who did evaluating online information. She was teaching classes on, I think it was a government class, where she looks at news bias and news sources and finding reliable sources in politics and the news. Um, so a lot going on here. You can find that on our website if you want to see some examples of what people have done. That's another way we ask people to help. Former cohort members oftentimes get featured on our website. So right now, applications are open. The deadline is June 14th. So basically till the end of the school year, you'll have a chance to apply. The application does ask a lot of questions. We do ask for a lot of kind of demographic information and other things. But we ask that at the application, so I don't have to ask you later. Uh, and I, so this is linked on our website, again, pbswisconsinaeducation.org/media literacy. It'll take you to this nice Word document, or a Google Doc, it actually is, that has all the information, kind of summarizes a lot of things I've talked about, and then that links to the application itself. And I'm going to put that link in the chat right here, but you can always find it on our website. Um, so make sure you apply by June 14th, and people who are accepted will get notified, within a week of that deadline. So that's all I have right now. If there's any questions, feel free to let me know, or you could follow us, get on our newsletter. We don't send it out. We're not going to spam you with a ton of stuff. You get a newsletter every once in a while. Follow us on social media. And here's my direct contact information. So nick.ostrem@pbswisconsin.org. Feel free to reach out if you have any specific questions about the cohort or your specific situation. It is intended for K-12. We have some flexibility there. It does I get questions about, can I do this if I'm not working directly with students? And, one of the interesting things are if you're training educators, you can do that. The educators themselves can be your students. So if you're training teachers, you can join us as well. But check out our website, pbswisconsinaeducation.org/media literacy. That'll take you to all the information you need. But I hope you choose to apply. And if you have any questions, let me know. So thank you.